Hi, it's Julie Arendt, your VCU Science and Engineering Research Librarian, here today to talk about textbooks and the library. So, the library probably doesn't have it. Should we cue the outro? Oh, wait. I said probably not. It's more complicated than that. Let's cue the introduction and get into it. So, VCU Library doesn't usually have textbooks. Partly it's because we don't have the kind of money it would take to pay for all of the scholarly journals and books that we have for research here, and also pay for all of the textbooks for every student at VCU. And partly it's because the major textbook publishers make it hard for libraries to pay for electronic copies of textbooks, sometimes not selling them to libraries at all, and sometimes requiring libraries to pay for a lot of additional books that aren't used in any classes at the university, just so the library could get one or a few textbooks. Now, with that said, the library does have a few workarounds, so it might have your textbook. So here are the workarounds. Number one, course reserves. If the library has a physical copy of the book, or if your professor has a spare copy that they're willing to loan out, it can be put on course reserve for students to borrow. With course reserves, a lot of students are sharing the same copy of the book. So as a student, you're only able to keep it for a short time before having to return it to the library for someone else. Faculty who put their personal copies of books on reserve also are trusting that no one in the class will lose or damage their copy of the book. The library doesn't pay professors back if the book disappears or is damaged. Professors have to proactively put textbooks on course reserve. So normally you'll know if the book is available on reserve by reading the syllabus for the class, because the professor will have put it on the syllabus. If you want to make absolutely certain that the textbook isn't on reserve, you can look in the advanced search part of the library search system under course reserve for your professor's last name, the name of the textbook, or your course's acronym and number, but with no space between them. To be honest, it's enough of a finicky nuisance to search for the course reserves in that system that you're probably better off reading the syllabus to know. Number two of the ways to work around the library not having textbooks is that the library does have books or articles that are used as course materials. Not every publisher puts restrictions on their electronic books, and even the publishers that do usually only put those restrictions on books that they expect will get heavy use as textbooks. That means there are some books that the library may own that are course textbooks. The library does its best to let professors know when circumstances align just right, and the professor has chosen an electronic book that the library has unlimited simultaneous users for, and that way the professor can let you know that you may not have to buy the textbook. And as of this recording, there's even a textbook portal that VCU faculty can use to find books that are available for libraries to get with unlimited simultaneous users, and then the professor can request that the library purchase it. Assuming the price is within our budget, the library can purchase the textbook for the whole class. There's even a permalink option within the library search system for the professors to use and provide to the class to access these books from off campus. Now, in addition to books, your professor might assign articles from the library's collection. And the vast majority of the articles that the library has online are on subscriptions that let you download individual articles for free with your status as a VCU student. The third way to deal with the library possibly not having your textbook is open or free textbooks. The technical term that I hear in libraries is Open Educational Resources, or OER. And that means that it encompasses things that aren't traditional textbooks. But the idea is basically the same. These are textbooks that have free copies that are on the web. Now, if they're truly OER, meaning open, by the technical definition, the authors have to also grant permission for other professors to reuse and remix the content to suit their needs. Now, VCU Libraries has been deliberately working to support open and affordable course content for a few years now. The library estimates that as of when they updated the OER webpage, VCU students had saved over $8 million through these different efforts. That's still just a fraction of what VCU students spend on textbooks, but there are other things the university is doing too. The Register has a system with the in registration where classes that have low-cost textbooks or free are marked with the low-cost attribute to help you find them. I'll put a link to their YouTube video on how to search for those classes in the credits at the end, so watch for that. And I'll also add some links to some of the other things that I mentioned in this video. Now, still, that leaves a lot of courses for which free textbooks, open educational resources, or even low-cost textbooks don't exist at all, or just aren't as good as the conventionally published textbooks. And that's especially true when you get past introductory level classes. Even when they exist, your professor has to know about it and actively seek out those materials. So, as I said at the beginning, the library probably does not have your course textbook. And if it does, it's usually because your professor has actively sought out materials that won't cost you. Every once in a while, there's a lucky circumstance that the library happens to have a book that the professor has chosen without them having to do something special. But most of the time, your professor has done something to make it happen. So what can you do to know if the library has your textbook? 1, read your syllabus to see if there's a note from the professor about the library having an electronic copy or copy on course reserve, or about the textbook being available free online. 2, check the library search system for the title of your textbook, just in case the library has it. 3, if your course textbook is expensive and the library doesn't have it, there's not much the library can do to help, but you may be able to talk with your professor. Maybe they can put a copy on reserve, or maybe they can start thinking about using some of the library's services to find open or affordable content for your course. And finally, if you find that your professor is using a textbook or other course materials that you don't have to pay for, thank them for the extra effort that they took to find course materials that were appropriate for the class while also saving you some money.